welcome back to Restos for yet another episode on the M113 conversion for the Ford Capri. See, last episode, big milestone. Well, actually, to be fair, the last 3 episodes have been pretty substantial progress on this engine. See, the final last episode being, we got this fired up on the floor. So the wiring was a success, the throttle body was a success, and all that. But you may have remembered we had a few issues. Can't remember I mentioned that the auxiliary belt I got was a bit too long. I must have mismeasured there. Whoops. So I got a shorter one to try. I didn't measure it. I just bought a shorter one. Well, go right. So we got this time we got a 1530 6PK belt instead of a 1550. So 20mm shorter. So we'll give that a go. You'll probably remember that the coolant temperature sensor is currently broken and stuck in the housing. That's going to be a pain, but got a brand new one, so we can smash that out. And then, if you remember back to some of the earlier episodes, I was talking about adding an oil pressure sensor in, which is this one here. Now we need to try and fit this into a test port. So what I did is I bought a 1/8 MPT tap for this fitting. Not realising that probably a couple of years ago I'd bought a 1/8 MPT tap for, I think, one of my other engines. Could have been a twin turbo Cosworth or a 20R turbo for one of these sensors. Not realising that the taps that I bought a few years before that had a 1/8 MPT tap. So now I've got 3 1/8 MPT taps and a whole load of other taps. Oh well. So, let's crack on. This episode is probably going to be tying up bits and bobs and doing all sorts of random jobs as opposed to an episode focused on one single job, because there's a lot of stuff we need to get done to this engine before we can put it back in the bay, and there's a lot of stuff we need to do in the bay before we can put the engine back in the bay. Well, so a new belt. She fits absolutely perfect, so that's good. She comes around the alternator, rides around the water pump, and I'm pretty sure from memory they all still go in the same direction they used to. The only difference is now is we used to have a aircon compressor and a power steering pump down this side. Obviously now we don't, but other than that, looks like it fits great. Now, but we are extremely close to the oil pressure test port, which is where our oil pressure sensor needs to go. Now I've got a few options. I can try and remove this plate a minute and see if I can actually fabricate a whole new plate and get it to seal on there and tap a thread into it. Or my original idea was just to drill out and tap a thread into the blanking plug. But because of the issues we've got with depth there, I might just remove that plate a minute and see if I'm going to better fabricate something that would work. So my idea kind of worked. I was just going to drill out the stop plug for the oil pressure test port. I did that, started tapping it, and then had a bit of a disaster. The head of the plug wasn't deep enough. The 1/8 MPT tap was wider than the thread on the plug, so I kept tapping until the head come off. So I had to get the remains out of the back plate. Now I did think, okay, aluminium, I could TIG weld it on. But this back plate is so thin, with my very limited aluminium TIG welding skills, like really poor, it would warp. And it's not really a way you could bodge that too well, it does warp. So I didn't want to do that. So what I did is I cross-thread rethreaded a M14 bolt into this fitting back here, cut it down, tapped a 1/8 MPT thread into the bolt, new copper washer, and then used my adapter, and that seems to work pretty well. We got very little room there for activities, but it does fit, so I'll take that currently as a win. Does fit, new belt fits perfect. Now, this temperature sensor, bit of a pig. So this is Mercedes design here. You've got this like brass sensor that goes in with an O-ring. Obviously, different metals. That's probably still the factory sensor, judging by the circle on it. So that's got seized in there. Got to work out how to remove it the cleanest possible way. I think I'm going to have to use heat and try and get the metal to expand there and just work it loose. Maybe smash out the insides. Worst case, have to try to smash out it right out and wind something in there to try to pull it out. So I'm going to crack on with that headache a minute and get this sensor fitted in. We might calibrate the sensor first, drop it in hot water, and check some different readings at different temperatures in order to get some data for the ECU. But I want to get the see why that was seized in there. Look at that aluminium corrosion. It certainly put up a fight, but we got it in the end. So now to clean up the hole, and then that's good to go. Banging. Alright, so we want to calibrate our sensor here for this Speeduino. This is a bit of a rough way of doing it, but it's going to give us something to put into ECU at least for now, which will get us going. I'll probably order another sensor and calibrate that one a bit more accurately when it's convenient. Hopefully non-blunt cutters. So what I've got here in it is I've got my temperature sensor rigged up to my test leads from a multimeter, and I've also got a thermal probe on a multimeter so we can get an idea of temperature. So the ambient temperature is currently 10 degrees C. So let's just check the resistance a minute of the sensor at ambient temperature. So currently at about 4.1 K at 10 degrees C, so write it down. Now this is a linear temperature sensor. The resistance will follow with the temperature on a nice smooth line if we plotted it on a graph. So let's now go to another whole extreme. So let's go from that reading a minute. Let's go back to the temperature sensor. Now let's pour some hot water into a mug here, which obviously is going to mean it's not going to be boiling hot. Drop that one in there. Wait for it to stable a minute. So apparently that water is 72 degrees. Drop the sensor in there for a few minutes as well. Ouch. It's hot. You can kind of see the coolant temperature sensor sucking the temperature out. So that's 65 degrees a minute. What is our resistance of our sensor? As it's warming up, temperature's dropping. Yeah, resistance, sorry, is dropping. Seems to be fairly stable now. So say 500 ohms there for, so 500 ohms for whatever the current temperature is, which is 65 degrees. So 65 degrees is 500 ohms. Now if we were to drop this temperature a bit more a minute, not using some cold water. Stir a cup of tea. I'll drop it down to 50 degrees. There we go, 50 degrees. Let the sensor stable. Analyze again. What is our resistance of 50 degrees? $750 ohms at 50 degrees. Right, close enough. Now we could do getting one more hot reading, so I'm going to quickly boil the kettle again and try and see if we can get that a bit closer to 100 degrees, not 49 degrees. So our temperature is 90 degrees. What is our... It's going down. So that has been plotted on a little graph here. Not a very good graph. But we had 10 degrees was 4.1 K. So about there-ish. 65 was 500. About there-ish. 50 was 750. So about... Too fair. My scales aren't uniform, which doesn't help. Now, it's going down. Or is it going up in? It's going up as it cooled down. So, say 315 for 90. Yeah. Let's just triple check the temperature. So now it's at 330 ohms. Temperature is 75. Okay. I'm going to go for one more attempt. 95, so 95 degrees. What was our resistance? Going down. So I'm going to set out about 185 for 95 degrees. So that would then be perfect. So that is enough data for us to pop the ECU detail, the sensor details into the ECU and get accurate enough data, currently up to 95 degrees, down to 10 degrees. So ideally we need to get a reading up a bit above 100, but that gets a bit difficult then. And we need to get a reading down sort of ideally just into the minuses or 0. So we've got the full scale of where this car, you know, we're UK, we don't operate at extreme temperatures here. Very unlikely for the car to be out in the minuses. But I can always guess enough off of the extra fuel needed to know where, you know, what it needs to be doing. But we can sort of guess the rest of the graph. I want a coffee now. Well, the temperature sensor's in there. Obviously a bit of grease to help slip her in. She's a bit tight. That's in done. As you can see, I have actually had it fired back up again, just because I wanted to check a few things. And I think half my issue with it not running consistently last time was the battery pack it was connected up to the fuel pump was inconsistent and the fuel pump was struggling. So I connect the fuel pump up to the rest of the supply, which is running consistently at like 14 volts. Much better. So it's a fuel pressure issue really. So that's mostly solved. So I run it for a bit, but obviously now I've got to be careful, I can't run it for too much or else I'm going to warp the heads. So next on the cards is really going to be, before it goes back in, I can't get the air thingamajig in without removing some of this, so I'm going to cut out some of the heater bubble here, work out what I actually need of it. The heater, the blower's down that side there, so I'm not sure the entire purpose of this, or whether I can sort of reroute a blower tube out and sort of lose most of this. I'm not sure yet. So that's going to be a job to do in a moment. Plus, I was hoping the hose for the idle control valve would arrive, but it doesn't appear to have arrived. So I'm probably not going to worry about mounting that until that's done. I might as well get on and make a blanking plate for the EGR port here, get rid of that. And then start with the next job I'm dreading, and that's sorting out these manifolds here. Now, it would be so nice if they undone and come off, but I doubt they will. So, that's going to be a bit of an issue. Now, it appears to be an exhaust manifold here inside this casing, so I'm going to have to cut this casing off the outside first in order to reveal what's inside, and then work out how I'm going to move it around and keep it sort of tight into the block here on both sides. So, that's going to be fun. Or not. Joys, but we're making progress. Every little step forward is a step forward. Every little step backwards, well, we'll just get past it and move forward still. So, let's crack on. Probably with, I'm going to start cutting up exhaust manifolds because I'm dreading that. So I'll get on with that. So I've been an animal, got the plasma out. And in behind this stainless cover is a log manifold on a Mercedes. So there it is. Now I know this is not the most high flow way, I know it's not the proper way. This should nicely bend out here now but as a temporary, I'm probably going to get hopefully nicer manifold, but I'm going to have to pro-change all the studs at the same time because they look dodgy. So as a temporary now to get it running and moving, I'm just going to blank off this, the old pot, cap off that, and then we've got these bits of stainless. It's going to go on there, and it's going to give me a bit of a downpipe where I can then put it in the car and work off of that then at least, can't I? That is the plan. So I know it is not, I'm not going for optimum power here, as you can probably tell. I'm just going for now to be running and reliable, and then we will start tarting bits up, because I need a full new exhaust system anyway on the car. But I'm going to make what I've got currently work, and then we will probably put in a full nice stainless system on the whole Capri. But that is not a priority currently. There's many other things that are priority over that, and one is just getting this working for now, because it's still, no one's successfully done all this yet in a Capri, so it's not proven yet. So we're just going to crack on, and we're going to keep working on it until stuff happens. So I'm now going to get them tacked in place. Probably not fully welded because the engine's still got to come in and out yet. So I'm probably going to cut that bubble out, get them tack welded on. Might do the radiator stuff's going to be a separate video, so I might start recording that as well for the cooling system. We've still got brake lines and all sorts to change in the bay, so that's yeah. The engine's going to be in and out a couple of times yet, but I do want to start mocking up some bits and bobs. So the engine will have to go back in to mock up the exhaust, and it'll have to go back in to confirm everything back here still fits. So yeah, I'm going to make up them plates now, tack these downpipes in place so we're not moving, and then we're on to the and then make probably an EGR blanking plate whilst I'm at it currently, and then we're on to the next job. Little blank plate for EGR, so that will cover up what that used to do. Perfect. Now I could try and get a gasket for that if it has a gasket to sit back on here, but it's only a 2mm plate and I never intend to take it off again because who wants an EGR? So I'm probably going to use my liquid gasket, otherwise known as JB Weld, to stick it down there, and then we won't have to get it back off. Obviously in the future if I want to take it off, I can pop it off and clean the surface back up, but for now I don't think I need to. And all the people that know me know I've got to use JB Weld somewhere, so this is the ideal candidate. So I'm going to stick it on to where the EGR should be at the moment. The exhaust attacked on place and the plates attacked underneath there as well, so got to work out to tidy that up yet. It's probably going to end up having to be wrapped, but I need to put this in the car first to make sure this is all okay, but I'm quite happy with that if it is okay. We are making progress. Slow progress, but every little job is progress, so I will take that. This, well, let's start with this. Heat bubble. Didn't know what to expect. I was hoping I want something in a way. Those of you who know what's behind there are already laughing at me now, knowing what was to come. But still, we'll now know at least what we need to clearance when the engine's in with it like this, so we can go from there. It's another day, and I'm still working on the Capri. Funny that. So, obviously I got various challenges to get over here, and I don't want to start any other big jobs at the cooling system yet. That's probably going to be the next video, whilst we can still tie up small odds and ends. This bay is now sort of tied up as much as we can. The engine's sort of tied up, I think it's sort of as much as we can now, until it goes back in. So something else I can do, which is probably going to be worth doing before it goes back in next, is going to sort of shifter out. Now this is one of the other jobs I've been putting off because I really don't want to do it, but I've got to do it unless I get the rear passengers to shift, because currently this shifter is going to be in the rear seats. So the Merc shifter here uses this rod for the shifting, and it uses this cable drive in order to shift this linkage to go left and right on the gate. But I need to lose about 200 odd mil off this whole setup, which brings the ball joint here back to about here. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Certainly not an easy task. Not for the unexperienced anyway. And then obviously this cable, I'm going to have to see if I can shorten it. I doubt I can. If I can't shorten it, I'm going to have to hope there's enough slack and it's not going to mind being that much tighter, because it's going to have to move all the way back here. Yeah, and this frame here is like an aluminium frame. So again, like the other stuff, I won't be TIG welding it. I'm going to have to make a steel one that probably comes back and bolts to here instead. So it's going to be a lot of fun overall. Not an easy task, but like everything else on this build, we will overcome it. So the best thing I can do is bolt it together, work out exactly how it works again, and then start coming up with a plan on how we actually alter it. I'm hoping the crane doesn't collapse, because it's, you know, really strained there. So this is how the shifter should sit roughly in the Mercedes. I'm not entirely sure on the angle, but somewhere around there. So we've got our shift linkage, it goes forwards and backwards here on the shifter. So that's fine. We got our box mounting point, I'm assuming a body mounting point here. Everything is bushed. Obviously, I'm guessing for like supreme comfort and luxury, we don't care about that, because it's, I don't care about that. And I'm assuming this was kinked down to do with the design of the tunnel in the Mercedes. My tunnels, from memory, is pretty flat from here on anyway, so we won't need to worry about it being kinked, because we can move the whole shifter forwards and upwards, which will be fine. Well, if it's not fine, we'll be modifying the tunnel, not the shifter. I've put the prop for the donut for the prop back on, because this is a bigger donut than this gearbox would usually have for a bigger prop joint. So we've got to allow for that. Absolute worst case, obviously I've got to have a prop made up anyway, and I'm working on that currently. We can go down to the smaller V6 donut instead of V8 one, but I want to keep the V8 if possible. And this is where the cable goes to do it left and right. So that is going to be very tight, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. First off, I think, shorten this rod, weld this fitting back onto here at the right length, build a new bracket out of steel, probably be solid mounted. One, because it'll be just as easy to unbolt it as opposed to undo these pins. Two, it'll be firmer, which is what I want. I prefer the shifter entirely to be mounted to gearbox, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that with the space we've got working with a prop. So it's probably going to have to be mounted to the body one end and the gearbox the other end, which isn't ideal. So I'm not sure yet, actually. We'll have to suss it out. But the main thing is to build the frame from here back to mount the shifter to the box, so that this stays consistent when we're shifting backwards and forwards. So I'm going to get cutting. rather well. So we got our linkage, but the cable's not the best route, but I don't think it's going to be an issue, to be honest. Especially not as I'm not doing that to do, 200,000 miles like it's already done. Or this one probably hasn't, but yeah. Mercedes got a nice little quick adjuster here where you can use to sort of set the lever in the middle so you get equal left and right tension. So when you move the lever left and right, it pushes that rod up and down there. It's got a nice short throat. I used this, 2mm by 25mm, whatever it is, angle head line around. Bolt it on the front of an M8 bolt. Cut all this off, the old bolts are seized. Bolted it down to there on the original mounting points. Removed the rear mount because it seems to be really solid, really solid. I wasn't expecting that, but obviously I've solid mounted as opposed to bush mounting. And now we've got a really nice positive shift. Really nice. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and we come across, go up, back, got reverse. I'm well happy with that. And I couldn't have wished for that to be any simpler. A little H bracket here and it's done. Easy. So yeah, I'm over the moon. Obviously, what I can do and might do is, once I know where this is definitely sitting in the car, this might have to go up or down yet. I've got a bit of space, quite a lot of space actually. Once we know what we're going at, I can move this to suit and possibly make a brace that comes from here to the gearbox, or off the top of here back to the gearbox, in order to stop this moving at any point. But with these nuts wound up really tight, maybe we'll double nut it, it's probably not going to go anywhere anyway, to be honest. Or I could still put a brace from here to the body, but I'd just prefer not to do that if I can. So yeah, that's another obstacle overcome. Wow, we're smashing through this. So I kind of can't wait to try it in the car. And I do really want to drop this back in the car to mock up prop stuff again, so I can send some more stuff to the prop guys. But before I do that, I need to start the next episode on the cooling system, because that's going to require more work in the bay before I can put the engine back in. So I think, on that note, I might as well end this episode. That's been a whole load of success. There's going to be another bitsy episode then when we sort of get involved in the clutch work, finish off the downpipes and all that, and continue working on getting this thing fired up. But probably before that will be another episode next on the cooling system, where I've got a bit of a surprise on the radiator. Some of you may remember a couple episodes ago I mentioned about having issues with the radiator. Yes, I got screwed over by them. I forgot that. GPI Racing, Chinese company, sells from the Czech Republic. Avoid them. Absolute waste of time. And if this radiator I've got isn't man enough, because it's too small, because it's not what I ordered, then I'm going to be out of pocket, aren't I, by over 100 odd quid. Great. And that's after the compensation they've already managed to get out of them in the end. So that's rather disappointing. But I would avoid them, because they obviously don't want the business, because they don't care about the customers or what they send out. So, yes. Either way, for an episode where we're just doing bits and bobs, I'm over the moon with the progress. We've once again jumped over so many hurdles, and I'm starting to run out of big issues now. We're getting there. Wiring is almost done. The engine fits and the gearbox fits in the vehicle. We've started making downpipes. We've got the gear shifter moved. There isn't much left now. It's going to be that much a headache. Getting the prop finished off. If it's going to be a two-piece one, that's going to be a bit of a headache. The diff flange is currently pointing downwards for some reason, so we've got to solve that. And we've got to convert the clutch to hydraulic, which will be a bit fiddly, but we are narrowing down a pile of big issues here, which I'm so happy. So if you've enjoyed watching this series so far, then why not watch our videos if you haven't already. There's going to be plenty more after this one, there's plenty more before, and there's plenty of other content on all sorts of my vehicles on the channel. Like the video, drop me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe for plenty more. I've been Jordan. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Cheers!
Woo!